So this is gonna blow your mind. I put down a mint base coat of paint. I grabbed my cashmere. Cashmere, guys, is my number one seller. It's my first glitter that I ever mixed, and it is still my number one, so I can't keep it stocked. This is cashmere. If you look at it in its raw original form, it does not look like this at all. This is a good example of your base coat will change your glitter. All right, let's get to the cup. I put down cashmere on top of this mint paint. I let it cure and I put it on my shelf. And then several months later, I came back to it and what are we gonna do with this? We're gonna do some hyacinth here on the bottom. Now, this is a purple that I put in one of my Christmas boxes, I believe. It's an acrylic paint. It's got some great coverage. I love the consistency of this paint. You can get away with one coat, but this purple is to die for. I love the creaminess and the thickness of this paint. It is just perfect. Wait for it to dry. And then we're gonna put a good generous amount of some Eileen's Tack-It. Putting it on there like mayonnaise on a sandwich. We're just trying to get a good, solid coverage, a consistent coverage, because you don't want any bald spots, because anything that's not covered, your burnish is not gonna stick to it. And it's hard to go back once you burnish a cup on bald spots, just saying. So make sure that it's all covered in white, take your time. And once it starts drying, you wanna kind of leave it alone, because if you keep messing with it, it's gonna start to get gummy. You'll start to see that it's gonna pull up and it will pull away from your surface. So get a nice solid consistent coverage and then let it sit. Now that my cup is somewhat dry, there's no more white in here, I'm gonna put down my macaroon. This is like a lilac-y lavender kind of color. This came out in one of my kits last year, and it's still one of my favorites, especially when it comes to burnishing. This size flake is perfect. When you burnish a cup versus just throwing your glitter down on there, you get a different effect. You get like a shiny, glassy, almost opal, reflective. It catches the light differently. You don't have a bunch of shards, like a million shards and facets, flashing light back at you. You just have a solid beam of light, reflecting color. And I have really embraced this here recently. I love the way that it just gives that pearly luster. I don't know. I'm eating it up right now. I can't get enough of it. So if you're sick and tired of seeing me do this method, I am so sorry. I promise I will go back to Milky Ways one day. See what I'm doing here? I'm going very soft, circular motions with one finger, and then I polish it with the whole hand once I don't feel grit. And you will know that you are done when you can rub your entire hand over that glitter part and it feels smooth, like it's dry, but it's not really dry. You gotta let it dry a little bit more. Pull your tape off, and then we move on to our UV epoxy to seal. I could not decide, do I wanna continue the mermaid or do I wanna go in a different direction? And I looked at it and it was just giving me like celestial, sky, astrology, like Zentangle, lots of line art. And I looked at my silhouette machine and I said, you and I know we have our disagreements, but look, we're gonna work together and you're not gonna give me any fuss. So I compiled a bunch of moons and stars. I even made a few. I altered some. I had a gold and lavender. Sent both vinyl through with the same settings. Came back and I knew that I was gonna have my hands full with lots of weeding. Lots of weeding. I know I could just probably get the same effect if I were to do like a UV DTF or something, or if I were to do a UV vinyl, but no. You just get a different look. You get a different effect when you give it the old school vinyl. When you run it through your cutting machine, it just hits different. And I had no idea how I was going to go about placing them. It never works out as planned, so I always kind of have to improvise, and that's what I did here. I knew that these were the elements and I was gonna make them work some way, somehow. Most of the time they come out great. Sometimes they're a disaster. There's been a handful of cups where I'm just like, oh, what the hell was I thinking? And I gotta throw this cup away. But usually it works. And I started layering all my big pieces first. I started with my big star, And then I started with the moon next. So I decided I wanted to alter them. Once I started layering them, I knew that because they are the same size, I couldn't go wrong. I can stack a gold on top of a lavender, or I can stack a lavender on top of a gold. And this was a very slow process. So it did take me about like an hour to weed everything and place everything down. And because I had so many thin lines and very thin pieces of vinyl, I knew that I couldn't just pull at the vinyl from the carrier or from the backing. So you'll see me place the entire vinyl right onto the cup. For those thinner pieces, that's where I will pick at it from the cup. And it made it so much simpler and so much easier for me to weed once it was on the cup, because the rest of the vinyl wasn't pulling up. What I wanted to stick on the cup was not coming up with the things I wanted to subtract from that vinyl. Once I was done placing all of my decals and I was really happy with the placement, I gave it a whirl and gave it my sign off, I sealed these little pieces. Guys, I cannot stress how important it is to not only seal your glitter, but you also have to seal your vinyl too, especially when you have so many of these little pieces right here. They will act up. They're so thin, and that epoxy is so thick and aggressive when it's heating up and it's curing that it will do some funny things to your vinyl, and it'll slip under the adhesive of the vinyl and lift it up. It'll push its way under that vinyl. If the epoxy senses that, oh, there's a space for me to crawl into right there, it's gonna take it. And then that's when your curls come up, and that's when your corners come up, and you come back and you're like, now I have to redo this vinyl. No, if you seal it, then your epoxy will just go right over it. So that's what I'm doing here. I have a lazy girl technique, what I call here. It's not really lazy. It's actually my favorite method. It's the nail polish sealer. Now you can go in here. I recently used some Wicked Shimmer Supply sealer and it worked beautifully. In fact, I love it so much, and I will link that down here in the comments. But this is what I had at an arm's length right here. And if you're in a pinch and you don't have any sealer, everybody's got some clear nail polish, right? So grab your nail polish and seal, 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 especially the vinyl when it's this thin. Once you're done sealing that and it's all dry and all is good, then you're gonna go and you're gonna give it the epoxy job. If you are not familiar with how to apply epoxy, or if you are new to tumblers, I have a few videos that I will link in the bottom as well that will show you step by step on how I mix my epoxy. I use a 1-to-1 formula for regular epoxy on tumblers. If it's a flood epoxy, I use a 2-to-1, but for tumblers, we're 1-to-1, so it's pretty easy. I usually skip that step, but I will point you in a direction so that you can see me actually applying epoxy on how that works in some of my older videos. I will go in a more in-depth video in the future. Leave me your comments if you would like to see that. Once your sealer is dry, go ahead and send this off for its final coat of epoxy. While I was doing my epoxy job, I kind of looked at this cup and it was missing something at the very top. And I, of course, am always, I always have to just improvise, you know me, I can't just stick to the plan. I squirreled and I grabbed my Teaks. It's my gold alcohol ink. And I said, I wonder what would happen if I put a little bit of alcohol ink up here just to play off of the gold, like gold clouds. And then maybe I can take some of this white dye right here, and maybe I can take some of my hold up white alcohol ink and swirl it around up here and get some kind of like artsy looking clouds to play off of this, falling stars, the mobile in the sky, so that's what I did, and I really liked it. It gave it a very milky way galaxy looking kind of feel to it, and then I came back and I applied some white stars. I hand drew some white stars on there. I'm not like the best drawer. I can't draw a star to save my life, but that's okay because I wanted it to have a very rusticy, distressed, very carefree, whimsy kind of vibe to this. This is not, none of my cups are, perfection, by far. I like that they are a little messy and a little carefree. And so that's what I did. I was like, I'm going to draw some stuff. I'm going to doodle. I'm going to Zentangle. That is where this comes from. If you are unfamiliar with the term Zentangle, look it up. It is drawing meditation or meditation drawing. The two go hand in hand together. It's a great technique. It's very relaxing, and it's what I did for a very long time when I was just trying to get like in a creative mood. I Zentangled. So go research some of that, and you might find a new hobby. Who knows? Once I was done with all of my Zentangling and my doodling and my dotting, I sent it back out to the studio to get another whirl of epoxy, and that was it. It was a wrap. This is what we got, and I have to say that I really love this cup. I respect this cup so much. It has cashmere on there. It has my silhouette work on here. I mean, come on. You got to move mountains to get me to use my silhouette machine. You know, it was a very enjoyable process, and I think it has broadened my perspective, and I will be more open now to doing more cups with my machine. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please give me some comments to let me know what you think. What do you want to see in the future? Give me a like to let me know I'm doing a great job. And then I'll be seeing y'all soon. This cup is going to be up on the site for sale. If you are interested in purchasing it, I will link that listing down in the bottom as well. Until then, have a great rest of your week, and I will be seeing you next Sunday. Bye.